Talkin Hoopz, the show that discusses real NBA stories, gives you all the latest rumors, and gets you into heated debates.
It's dunks and layups. How many of his points have been jump shots? 0.
Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5.
0.
It's not happening. Not in this NBA. Maybe in the fantasy NBA that they're playing in, but not in this NBA.
We're going to challenge each other in practice.
We talking about practice, not a game.
Once the game starts, it's going to be easy.
You better get off whatever you're smoking.
Strap in, get your popcorn, put your headphones on.
This is Talkin Hoopz.
It's Rudy Gay checking out Talkin Hoopz.
Talkin Hoopz.
Talkin Hoopz, the official talk show of NBA Miami.
Talkin Hoopz starts right now.
TalkinHoops.com. AJ, Kyle, former NBA player Mark Strickland hanging with you for the show. NBRPA Miami chapter, NBRPAMiami.com. Apologies for the late start and some technical difficulties, but we're back. We're talking hoops. The season opener is here. The NBA time is here. We got a lot to go over. The Lakers, the Clippers, the Bulls. MVP predictions, Carmelo Anthony, some Charles Barkley comments, Marcus Camby being waived by the Rockets, and more. But guys, getting right into the show. How's everybody doing?
Good, man, good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, excited for the season to start. We're here. We're finally here. We finally arrived.
Finally.
Yep.
It's big stuff.
Finally.
That's big stuff. That's big stuff. And I'm excited because this is what I think we wait for the entire year. This is what we wait for every day of our lives, is the beginning of basketball season. There's no better time to talk hoops than now. So
Yes.
Let's get started. Chicago Bulls, where are they going this season? They're playing tonight. What's the deal?
The Bulls, man, they're going to be a team that I think holds opponents to 90 points a game. Their defense is ridiculous. That starting five with Rose, Butler ends up starting Noah. That's your boy Noah, Mark, right? You know,
Yeah, man. I love it.
That team is going to be holding opponents to 90 points a game, I think.
Yeah, man. I think they're very focused. I think they're excited. Last year, man, you saw without Derrick Rose, they got to play the Heat. You know, they played well last year. They played well against the Heat. They gutted it out without him. When they get him back, he's their leader. He's shooting the ball lights out from three-pointer, man. I heard his vertical is higher. They're going to be exciting to watch this year. Man. I think they're very up to the challenge on beating the Heat. I think they're more focused. I think they're like an old school team, man. And they're gonna make some noise this year. I'm just excited overall, man. The league is going to be so even. A lot of rivalries going on. So I'm ready to see it. I'm ready.
Yeah, the thing for me with the Bulls is, obviously, like I said, their defense is going to be a huge part of their success if they're going to go anywhere this year. They took out the Nets last year in the playoffs without Derrick Rose. But the other big thing is health. It's Derrick Rose. How healthy is he going to be? Is this knee going to act up? Is it going to flare up on him? Is he going to struggle? Noah's always getting hurt. He's not the healthiest guy in the league. Is Noah going to be healthy? Then you talk about Carlos Boozer getting older in age. He's another guy that I think needs to stay healthy. Dang went through his injuries last year. He had a hard time staying on the court. All these guys that play such a huge role on the Bulls, they got problems with health. And it's defense and it's health for this team.
Right.
I don't think they're going to have a problem scoring the ball, and they're not going to be a team that's in – see, when they play a team like the Heat, let's break that down because a lot of people are saying that it's going to come down to – the Pacers, Heat, and Bulls. So if the Bulls and the Heat play each other in the playoffs, if they link up,
Right.
You can't trade baskets with the Heat. If you're the Bulls, you can't trade baskets. You got to play defense because if you trade baskets with them, you're going to lose every time.
Definitely.
You think so?
Yeah, you can't trade baskets.
But you say injuries, but every team got to look out for injuries. That's the Heat. If somebody gets Dwayne Wade, that's a question.
The Bulls are a little more susceptible to it just because of Derrick Rose's injury, Noah's past injuries. They have a little bit more for me to be concerned about.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, that's true.
I think so. I think I agree with Kyle. You can't sleep on the Bulls at any point in time, and just trading buckets for buckets, it's not going to work. Chicago's going to get that last bucket, and they're going to stop you from winning the game. That's just the type of defense they play. And then they got a guy like Jimmy Butler, who I think is going to have a breakout year. Two-way, another guy that could be a two-way player eventually. He's coming through in a lot of different ways for them. So I'm pumped to see Jimmy Butler start the season for Chicago and see how he reacts. But they do have an interesting team, and how well Mike Dunleavy's going to play. I mean, look, if this guy ends up starting some games and whatnot, I think a lot's going to depend on that because they lost some guys from last season. And that spark, Nate Robinson, who's going to be that spark off the bench? You know, I know you got Derrick Rose back, but who's going to be that guy? You know, because Kirk Heinrich, to me, if he is going to start or if he's going to come off the bench, he's not a spark. You need more. You need a spark. You need a real spark.
Yeah, I think you need Heinrich in the second unit to sort of stabilize that team. I don't think he's a starter. Yeah, last year he was a starter because of all the injuries. He had Rose hurt and a bunch of injuries, so he had to play.
Right.
But this year, if everybody's healthy, you need him to sort of stabilize that second unit.
Right. But again, stabilize, and that's different than a spark. They need a spark plug, and Nate Robinson, he was that spark. I don't see a spark on this team this year. I don't.
You never know. You never know. You never know who could emerge. Anybody could show up. Maybe Tony Snell ends up being a big player for them. You never know who's going to step up. Nobody knew Jimmy Butler was going to be as good as he was last year.
Right.
And this guy stepped up and was a major contributor in the playoffs.
Right.
And he really got his shot because of injuries. So Jimmy Butler, and Butler is one of those young guys like Kawhi Leonard and Amon Shumpert that are the up-and-comers in the league. But now it's time for him to not be an up-and-comer anymore. He's got to be a contributor, especially on the defensive end.
Right. And now,
I think he's ready to do that.
And now we talk about Carlos Boozer. Okay, this guy, he's got to go back to playing how he played in Utah. We need to see the old Carlos Boozer, not this. Not a Boozer that's dealing with injuries, not a Boozer that looks like he's aging. This team's going to need some help from him, especially Joakim Noah being injured. Dealing through stuff, going through stuff like that. Boozer's going to have to be a guy to be more assertive and make shots. All right, you got to make your shots. If he's open, he's got to knock that shot down. That's got to happen. What I do like about Chicago is it starts really with their coach. I mean, I think this guy has proven coaching goes a long way. And Thibodeau, Coach Tibbs, whatever we're going to call him, with everything that he did last season, with the team that they had, with no Derrick Rose, the Bulls they were pretty impressive. So I think it starts with the coach. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I think that alone puts them up high in the East just from that coaching standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Thibodeau. He's a great defensive coach. Anytime you have a coach that teaches defense, man, you got a superstar. It seems like all the players respect him. You never hear any problems with them in the locker room or any hotheads or anything like that. I think he's very under control. I love him as a coach. I mean, I think he's more of a John Chaney type of coach, man. His way of the highway. I mean, we need more of those type coaches in the league. And the Bulls are going to surprise a lot of people. That's the only team I think can really compete with the Heat. Everybody likes Indiana because of size, but I mean, they didn't do it last year. They didn't do it the year before. So, I mean, they added some pieces, but I mean, until somebody beat the Heat 4 games out of 7, I'm still rolling with the Heat. And the only team I feel like that can really challenge them is the Bulls, because they beat them last year without Derrick Rose and kind of did their thing without him. And when they get him back, I mean, they're going to be more motivated to do that.
Right. See, that's what you need. You need the size and the defense. We know the Pacers and the Bulls have that. But the other way, I don't think that you can trade baskets with the Heat and beat them. But the only team that I think can do that is the Knicks. The Knicks are the only team, in my opinion, in the East that can swing with them point for point. LeBron and Wade come down. Melo and JR can come down right back at them. That's the only team that I think will be able to trade buckets. But that's not how you win championships. You don't win championships by trading baskets with somebody and the last guy to score wins. That's not how games are won. It's won defensively, and it's won as a team game. And that's why LeBron James has like 8 assists a year, because he gets the whole team involved, and that's the difference between him and Melo. And it's a team game. It's not an ISO game. And that's the difference between the Knicks and the Heat, in my opinion, is that while they can go basket for basket, at the same time, the Heat are just a more complete team because LeBron makes them a complete team.
Yeah.
I think Derrick Rose does the same thing for the Bulls, though.
And Derrick Rose does the same thing. But
that's why I picked the Bulls over the Knicks. I never mentioned the Knicks. I like the Knicks, but like I said, I mean, until they start playing with discipline, I'm not going to.
I just don't think they have that scoring power, the Bulls, to answer bucket for bucket. And Rose, he needs to be MVP Rose. If he's not, and I'm not saying he has to win the MVP, but he has to play on that type of level. Because if Rose comes back any less than that, then the Bulls are just going to be another team.
Right.
Because he is the guy. I don't care what size and rebounding and young players they have. It's all on Rose. If he comes back and can play where he's in an MVP conversation, even on the outskirts looking at it, if he's around the chatter of MVP talk, that's when the Bulls are serious. If he's not there, the Bulls are no more than a 5th seed.
You don't think with his presence out there and him just being out there will bring it? No?
No, because Rose doesn't – I know you said that he improves his jump shot, but Rose is not a jump shooter. He makes his living from his explosiveness to the rim. I mean, he can take anybody to the rim. He's got crazy handle. He can get to the rim. He can break down defenses. If he's not doing that, if he's having the trouble getting to the rim and breaking down defenses so other guys can get their shots and looks, then they're not going to go anywhere. I mean, if there's a guy who's hesitant to get to the rim because of his leg, he doesn't trust his knees anymore, or if his knees don't allow him to do that, then that's not the Rose that the Bulls need, because he is not a jump shooter.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
It's just another weapon, though. It gives him another weapon to get to. If he's knocking down jump shots, then it's easy. It just opens up.
But I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he can knock down jump shots on a consistent basis night to night. He's not a jump shooter, in my opinion.
No. He's not.
I don't think he's a spot-up shooter.
Look, how much could he have worked on his game? He was really rehabbing the whole time and mentally trying to prepare himself to come back, trying to be more explosive. There was no mention in him about being a jump shooter, working on his jump shot. I mean, look, things do happen. Maybe he did work on his jump shot, but either way, this guy, he's known for driving, being an explosive guard, getting to the rim, dunking on guys, finishing down the lane. I mean, that's Derrick Rose. That's what we know Derrick Rose as. And he's quick. He'll beat you right off the dribble. Outside shooting, that's not what we know him for. So unless he worked on that over the summer, which I highly doubt that he did, being that he was still coming back from that injury. He didn't play in so many games either. Just from being around the team, just not playing in practices, not participating.
I'm sure he wasn't sitting around on the couch while he was rehabbing.
No. But I'm saying, rehabbing and going through all those fancy pieces of equipment that all these athletes use these days. Mark, you could probably relate to all that kind of stuff. All the weird gravity machines and everybody running on those and whatnot.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see what he does on the back-to-back. Yeah, you're right about that. I'm waiting to see what he does on the back-to-back. They haven't played the back-to-back yet. I'm pretty sure early in the season he's going to have some soreness because, it's a knee injury. It takes time to come back from that. That's just the way it is. That's just the way the game is. But, I just think, man, he's going to surprise a lot of people with adding that jump shot. LeBron does it every year. He improves on something, and if this guy improves, he knocks down a consistent jump shot, which we all agree that is remain to see, and that hasn't been his game.
Right.
But everybody can evolve. Everybody can get better. He is a superstar, and I think if he adds that piece to his game, man, it's going to be lights out.
And he could come back to that, and he could have improved his jump shot, and he could be back to MVP form. If you look at Adrian Peterson, who tore his ACL 2 years ago, he came back last year and almost rushed for 2,000 yards. He was the best running back in the league last year when people didn't even know if he would play again. So it's not like once you tear your ACL, you're done forever.
Right.
So we're not going to count. I'm not going to count him out at least, but I have to see it first.
All right, while we're on the injuries, let's talk about other players in the league that are injured. And let's start with the Pacers' Danny Granger, already injured. Just got through an injury, and now he's out for 3 weeks, Kyle?
Yeah, he's out for 3 weeks with a calf strain. But here's the thing. There was a medical expert that said he should really be given a 4 to 6 week time period to heal, not a 3 week.
Nice.
And, I've never had a calf strain to that degree. I'm sure Mark can speak on it more, but I think I'm being a little overly cautious with this because of he had a knee injury. He only appeared in 5 games last year because of his knee problems. Right. So he's got a calf strain. They're going to keep him out for 3 weeks, but this is a huge blow. This guy was the face of the franchise 2 years ago. Last year, Paul George replaces him pretty much for that title, and now he can't even get back on the court at all.
Yeah, when you have an injury like that, man, I think that injury came from him probably offsetting the injury from the knee, probably overusing the calf. That's usually what happens when something happens like that. He just got to get stronger. He has to rehab. He has to get stronger. He can be patient. The same way they're doing with Greg Oden. He can be patient. He can work his way in slowly. He's going to have to do that anyway. Because they already have a set team. He's a great. He's a great player, and it'd be great to have him and George out there at the same time beginning of the season. But I think, like you said earlier, it's about health. You got to get healthy, and they need him healthy to make a playoff push.
Yeah.
I just I feel for him, and I feel for like the Pacers franchise, and because just as an NBA fan, I don't want to see that. You know, as an NBA fan, I want to see the best guys out on the court at all times. And here's a guy, he was an all-star, and now he can't even play for just all these different reasons. So the Pacers got to deal with that. But Stevenson will step up. Stevenson is another one of those young players who started to emerge last year.
Right.
I'm sure he'll do good.
You know, just because Danny Granger's injured doesn't mean the Pacers, I think, are not going to be an effective team. And you know, obviously they would like to have him going into the playoffs. And
that's a huge piece.
Right. They're fortunate that this is happening at the beginning of the season. But let's not forget the Pacers did pretty well in the playoffs last season without Danny Granger. So who knows how well they're going to play with him back in the lineup. And I know that, you know, we talk about, look, he's a star player. No one likes to see star players go down. The league definitely doesn't like to see star players go down. But in the Pacers situation, it's not like they lost so much. I mean, what? They lost Tyler Hansbrough, but they gained Chris Copeland, and they gained
Luis
Scola. Right. So, I mean, these are good pieces to add to the team. And then Kyle said before, Lance Stevenson, they're relying on this guy to step up and have a big year. He's a big piece to what they are doing. That was coming from David West. David West said that earlier in the year, earlier in the summer, that they expect a lot out of Lance this season. So, you know, I think the Pacers, even without Granger, they're still going to be a competitive team. And, you know, look, around the whole league, the league has just gotten better. Every team is really good this season. Every team is really good this season.
Excited about it, man. Much more balanced league, man. Much more balanced. Games will be more entertaining.
Definitely.
It's not just that one dominant team anymore, those two dominant teams. Like, I'm really excited about this season. I'm really excited about it.
For sure. I'm really looking forward to it as well. But, again, look, Danny Granger's injured. Nothing you can really do about it except wait, and hopefully, you know, he works his way back. And whether he comes off the bench, whether he's going to start, I mean, that's we're going to still wait.
And here's the story about, well, they were saying that Granger was going to start, but here's the story of two tales with Granger and Stevenson. Both are entering the final year of their deal.
Yeah.
The Pacers will have about $65 million on the books next year, which means they won't be able to afford Lance Stevenson. So Lance Stevenson is playing for a big contract, and Danny Granger is entering the last year of his deal. He's just going to be playing for a contract because a lot of teams are going to be very skeptical with all his injuries. If he can't get back onto the court this season, and he can only put in, 20 games or something like that for this season, he's going to have a hard time getting a contract. This year he's making $14 million. He's not going to come close to that next year.
Right.
So his whole life is going to change from making $14 million a year to maybe making, around $3 or $4 million. It's going to be drastic change for Granger. And like I said, the other side, Lance Stevenson is making $1 million this year.
Right.
Next season he's going to make maybe upward from $6 to $8 million.
Yeah.
There's two guys, one's on the upswing, one's on the downswing. It's crazy how things go from year to year.
He's also, what I like is he's got a little attitude, Lance Stevenson. He really does. He's got that, I'm not afraid of LeBron.
Swag.
I'm not
He's
afraid
got
of Wade.
swag.
He does. He's got swag. And this is the same guy, I think, the previous year that opened his mouth to LeBron and said something, and maybe not the smartest thing, but he's one of those guys that can get a little chippy out there on the court. So, and personally, I like guys like that. The NBA has done so much in taking emotion out of the game. It's good to see when guys are jawing at other guys and saying things, and I feel like the NBA, they kind of took so much out that I kind of look forward to when guys are a little chippier on the court. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, Lance Stevenson still has to get a little bit more consistent on offense. Again, Granger, he has to be ready to roll by Christmas. He has to be out there by Christmas. I'm talking about rolling through All-Star Weekend and rolling through the playoffs. That's the only way he's going to obtain that type of contract. And then they'll make a decision. But, I mean, I still think Lance Stevenson, I like the chippiness. I like that he plays good defense, but I think he needs to get a little bit consistent on offensively before we start talking big numbers as well.
Oh, yeah. He definitely gets out of control. We saw that in the playoffs. He sort of lost his
bad
a lot of
bad
times.
shot select. Yeah.
Right. He threw up a lot of crazy shots and made some bad plays. But, that's a young player, what he's going to do.
He's really young.
He's just got to learn. But, that chippiness is perfect for the Pacers because that's what their franchise is. I mean, you look from the 90s with Miller and Antonio Davis and those teams, all they did was get into fights. All they did was antagonize the opponents. So he fits right into that culture.
All right, so let's shift now to the West Coast and talk about some more injuries. The Golden State Warriors, Harrison Barnes, not going to be there for the season opener, and he may be out for a couple weeks as well. How important is Harrison Barnes to this Warriors team, especially with the year he had last season as a rookie?
Well, I don't think he's going to be out a few weeks. He's going to miss the first 2 games.
Oh, first 2 games. Excuse me. I was thinking first 2 weeks. First 2 games.
So he'll miss the back-to-back set. But he may return Saturday for their home game against the Kings.
All right.
He's been out for 3 weeks, so he's had a lot of time to nurse his injury. But if he does miss the first 2 games, it's no big deal. I mean, it's the beginning of the season.
Right.
If he misses 2 or 3 games to start the year, they played together. Other than Iguodala and Nate, who joined the squad, everybody else has been there. They played together, so the chemistry is not really going to be an issue for him. And he'll slot right into that small forward starting spot, I think. He's huge, knocks down the 3, can get to the rim. Another one of those young players that where everybody's really excited for. So they can definitely weather the storm of no Harrison Barnes for the first few games.
Do you think?
He has a tremendous upside for them. I like him a lot. They're gonna need him, for sure.
Well, let me ask you, Kyle. Do you think with the Warriors team, they were kind of inconsistent in the preseason. Now, granted, as we all know, it is preseason. But do you think that, the team that they have can seriously contend at all in the West?
Yeah, I do. And I'll tell you why. It's because they have talent. And not just in one spot, kind of like the Knicks have, and I don't want to keep going back to that, but like the Knicks have one superstar player in Melo. The Warriors have a bunch of star players. Okay, Iguodala, gold medal winner, all-star. Steph Curry should have been an all-star last year, knocked down the most three-pointers in the league. He should be an all-star this year. Andrew Bogut had like 55 blocks in 35 games last season, which is ridiculous. He's capable of playing at a high level. Harrison Barnes, possible all-star in the future. David Lee has been an all-star. They have stars all over the court, everywhere you look. And the best thing about that is they all excel in different areas. You got Bogut, who can block shots. David Lee, who all he does is rebound. He gets double-doubles every game. Andre Iguodala, known for his perimeter defense. He'll be there to lock guys down like Westbrook and Durant. He'll be relied upon to do that. Steph Curry knocks down threes all day. Klay Thompson knocks down threes all day. So when you look at the team, it's balanced from all different guys. What one guy can't do, the other one can pick him up. One guy can't shoot, Curry will pick him up. One guy is having a problem with interior defense, Bogut will pick him up. Perimeter defense, Iguodala got that. So I like them because they're complete. And they're more complete than the Thunder and the Knicks, because the Thunder and the Knicks, they're superstar driven. They don't have complete teams, in my opinion. So that's why I think the Warriors will be able to compete. And now they have experience from last year. Okay, you can't say that enough. They were a young team last year. Everybody said, oh, well, their inexperience is going to hurt them. Maybe it did, and that's why they lost to the Spurs. Now you go into next year, they've been there. They've done that. Now they're a different team. The culture is changing.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say. I just think they need to get better defensively, and I think over the season, and with Mark Jackson being their coach, I think they will get better defensively. And once they get better defensively, and I think their experience will help them do that, their culture help them do that. They're going to surprise a lot of people in the West. I actually had them coming out of the West last year, but I didn't consider the experience part. But I think this year they're going to surprise a lot of people. And I got them coming out of the West, actually. I got them coming out of the West.
You got them winning the West?
Golden State Heat.
Golden State and Heat in the championship?
That's what I got.
All right. I mean, look, I can't disagree with you because I think that they're a very good team.
I saw them come down here last year and destroy the Heat. I mean, David Lee was getting all type of rebounds. I mean, they were killing, like absolutely killing. And I think they played the best defensive game when they came down here last year than I ever saw them play. I mean, the rotations were good. They were talking. I mean, they had a lot of people healthy at that time. But if they stay healthy and everybody stays healthy and Curry stays healthy with the ankle injuries and things of that nature, man, I mean, they're gonna be a team that's really gonna. I got them coming out of the West.
Yeah, and David Lee was hurt in the playoffs, and they still stretched the Spurs. Yep. In the playoffs, and the Spurs went to the championship, and they played without David Lee at 100%. And like you said, David Lee, he's got to stay healthy now that he's back. Steph Curry's ankle injuries, that's a big thing. Bogut has had serious issues being healthy. I think over the past 2 seasons, he's played something like 43 or 44 games. So, and he just signed a contract extension, which I don't think was the smartest move by the Warriors. They signed him to a 3-year extension. Yeah. It's a lot of money that they're going to be giving him, 12 mil, 11 mil, and 10 mil over the next 3 years. It could be more with incentives.
All right.
They just need him to play in the playoffs.
All right.
They need him to step up in the playoffs.
I'm gonna cut this short for just a second. We're gonna get back into this after we talk Lakers and Clippers real quick, but we got to get to our Mitchell report. So let's get to that now.
The Mitchell Report on TalkinHoops.com with NBA analyst Sam Mitchell.
And Sam Mitchell is joining us on the line now. Sam, how's it going? Sam.
What's up, AJ?
Hey, how's it going? There he is. All right, so Lakers and Clippers. Starting with the Clippers, Sam, what's your take on the Clippers, and where do you think they're going to go this season?
I don't think they're going to win the championship like a lot of people picking them. I mean, until DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin figure out how to score and make free throws, how can you pick them when those are 2 of your better players? I also think, as much respect as I have for Chris Paul, I just think after 82 games, I think Chris Paul wears down. And I just think sometimes it's just hard for Chris Paul to carry the load. Until Blake Griffin can carry the load, I just don't see them win the championship.
Definitely.
Well, we know that he's capable of playing at the MVP level. How big of it is a deal is it for DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin? How much does it ride on their shoulders? Because we know that offensively their game isn't fully developed. Jump shots are not there, post moves are not there. How much does it ride on these guys to develop to take this team to another level?
Well, I think it all rides on their shoulders for the simple fact that those guys need to understand that they're an important part, and to put all the emphasis on Chris Paul is just not fair. And like I said, until those guys can show me that you can throw them the ball and they can make a play or make a basket, I just don't see the Clippers winning the championship. I just don't see it.
All right. And now let's shift to the Lakers. You know, they got D'Antoni coming back with the team. Pau Gasol going to be the focal point of their offense until at least Kobe Bryant comes back. Dwight Howard not with the team anymore. What do you see for the Lakers this year? Do they even make the playoffs, in your opinion?
Guys, you're breaking up. I can barely hear you.
Okay. What's your take on the Lakers this season, Sam? Where do you think they're going to finish?
Well, I just see the Lakers just going to have a hard time. They're going to have a difficult time without Kobe Bryant. I just think it's going to be difficult for them. I just don't see without Kobe Bryant. I don't see Steve Nash being able to carry the load. And I just don't see, I know they have Paul Gasol and they have signed Chris Kaman. But I just don't, look, unless Chris Kaman is rejuvenated by being in L.A., I just see the Lakers in the Western Conference don't have enough to win the West. I think the Clippers have beat them. They dominated them last year.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, I just don't see the Clippers winning the championship because after Chris Paul, who's your go-to guy?
Right.
And Chris Paul is slowing down. He drags that, he reminds me of Tim Hardaway a little bit. He's starting to drag that knee. And if you remember that play, that basket that he made against Memphis, he didn't beat Tony Allen. He made a very difficult shot. But I just don't think after 82 games, Chris Paul can just beat people and get into the paint like he needs to.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, can the Lakers even make the playoffs? I mean, how much of a possibility is it that the Lakers don't even make the 8th seed?
I think it's a 70% chance that they don't. I just think the West is really tough, and I just don't see them being able to make it, especially without Kobe Bryant. And everybody was optimistic about Kobe Bryant coming back. But even Kobe Bryant saying now, he's had to stop his workout. So if he's not able to work out right now, how can you think? I don't think Kobe Bryant will be back until Christmas at the earliest. And so how do they become survive without Kobe Bryant? You're talking about their best player on offense and defense and their best pick and roll player. I just don't see it.
All right, Sam Mitchell, always appreciate your time. Thanks again for your analysis. The Mitchell Report, check it out on TalkinHoops.com. We'll catch you next week, Sam. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Sam.
All right. So a lot of positive things about the Clippers, but will they win the championship? That's still kind of up in the air. Sam doesn't think so.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm not so convinced either, and I agree with him in that who is going to be that second scorer? Who's going to be the guy when Chris Paul is not getting it done?
Right.
Who's going to be that other guy? Is it going to be J.J. Redick? He's never proven to be, such a role. Is it Jared Dudley? Is it Blake Griffin? There's a lot of uncertainty there. No question, talent-wise, they're going to finish in the top 4, I think, in the West, just based off of pure talent. But beyond that, it's like, well, where do you go from there when teams really start keying in and defensive matchups play a role in playoff series?
Right. Well, while we're on the Clippers, interesting thing, little behind-the-action news, so we'll call it. But apparently, the owner of the Clippers, Donald Sterling, decided to almost cancel the trade that was in place to send Bledsoe to the Suns and would give the team J.J. Redick, Jared Dudley, and who was that? There was one other guy. Who was the other guy in that deal? I'm blanking here.
Well, Jared Dudley and J.J. Redick and Eric Bledsoe were the main pieces.
Right.
Caron Butler.
Correct. Caron Butler going. Okay, but the thing was that apparently Doc Rivers had tried to convince J.J. Redick, and he did, that the Clippers were up and coming. They were a good franchise to play for. And then you have the owner coming out and ready to cancel the trade, and it almost embarrassed Doc Rivers if that was going to happen, to the point where people inside the organization were saying he was about to just quit and leave because of it. About to hurt his reputation big time, because here he is preaching to J.J. Redick how great the organization he's about to come to. And there were a ton of other teams interested in J.J. Redick, not just some. This is a very valuable piece to any team, a guy that could shoot like that. And the fact that the owner was already set to cancel the deal. Actually, he did. I don't know who had to talk to him to convince him not to do it, and they put the trade through, but it was very close to happening. So it just goes to show you, the owner of the Clippers, these owners, especially guys that don't know anything about basketball half the time, that's why you hire general managers. If you're just going to do whatever you want, that's a problem. There's a reason why you hire these guys. There's a reason why you hire Doc Rivers as a coach. He coaches the team. The owner doesn't coach the team. Doc Rivers says he wants this guy to come to the Clippers. This is your new coach, and you're already canceling a deal, and he's there talking to him, saying, no, it's cool, come to this franchise. I mean, that's a disaster waiting to happen. And
the Clippers has always been known for that, though. They're not one of the top-notch organizations. They've always been kind of sloppy from the top.
Right.
They were like that when I was in the league. They were like that over the years. That's just how some organizations are ran. They're not top-notch organizations, and until they get to that point, you got one of the best coaches in the league, one of the most respected coaches in the league, and you're not going to value his opinion because you're the owner. Sometimes, man, I feel like, just like you said, AJ, owners need to be owners, and let coaches, when you hire a coach, let the coach coach. That's why you're paying him.
Right.
Paying him a salary to coach the team. If he needs a piece, let him get a piece.
Right.
This is a guy that's proven that he can win. If he's saying he needs a piece, let him have it. But like I told you, the Clippers have always been an organization that has not been known as a top-notch organization. It's been messy from the top. This is why we like them on paper. We like the Lob City. But until, everything gets on one page from top to bottom, it's not going to happen.
No. And, going back to what you just said and what I said about, you hire these guys to do the job. That's why they're on board. That's why you're paying them millions of dollars to be your general manager. When you have an owner that is deciding to go outside of the team, maybe to his friends, a guy he's close to, maybe something like Jim Dolan and Isaiah Thomas. I'm just saying, and he's not even with the team anymore, and he's advising decisions. He's basically still has his foot in a franchise that he doesn't belong in. Why do you have this guy? Why doesn't he still just be with the team then? If you're not going to listen, why are you just wasting your money on guys that you hired that you're not going to listen to? It makes no sense. If you're just going to take outside sources and ask everybody else what they think. What if they ask us what we think? Well, the right thing to do is, if you care about what we think, then go to the guy that you hired and see what he thinks about it. Not just take what we say and then make the decision yourself.
Yeah. That's why you always see San Antonio, you always see the Heat, and you always see Indiana, and you always see certain teams in the finals because, they're on the same page.
Right.
It's the same. It's the same thing on a lot of teams, though, because you could say the same thing about Knicks owner James Dolan.
Right.
He does a lot of his own thing a lot of times. He doesn't take into account what his advisors or general managers or anybody says. He does his own thing. But look, when you're the owner of the team, that's one of your rights. I mean, you own the team, right? You can do what you want to do.
Right.
It's a setback. It's a setback.
Yeah, it's a setback. You know, whether it's a smart idea or not.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, an owner like Mark Cuban, a guy who's more involved in the decision-making, or an owner like Michael Jordan, who may not be the best at making decisions, but he's still kind of at the games. He's trying to figure things out. He's around these guys all the time. When the hell do you see James Dolan or Donald Sterling at a practice, on camera, or anything? They're not there. These guys aren't in practice. Like, Jordan, he plays these guys.
You talking about practice?
I am talking about practice. These guys play one-on-one. You know, Jordan's playing one-on-one against, you know, at the time he was playing when Jason Richardson was the Bobcats. He used to play one-on-one with Jason Richardson. You know, like, these guys, he was around his players. He was more involved in his team. Mark Cuban is at every single game. He travels to every single game with that team. Unless he's got to shoot Shark Tank, and granted, I don't even think he's making that mistake anymore. But unless he's got to, you know, unless he has a show he's got to do or something, he's at every game. He's not. He's got no excuses. And you know what? He knows the game of basketball. He has an idea of what he's doing. An owner like that, I respect. I understand it, and he makes his decisions, and that's cool. Everything has to go by the owner. I get it. But in a situation like Donald Sterling, who's been known to just, you know, just make fun of guys. Look at Baron Davis. When Baron Davis played for the Clippers, he was miserable there because the owner was always making comments about him. I mean, he openly talked about that. He was so happy to get out of the Clippers, get away from them.
You need to say that louder. You need to say that louder. You have to know the game.
Right.
Say it louder. You have to know the game of basketball.
Right.
You just can't own a team and not know the game of basketball.
Right. And that's a problem. That's not just in basketball. That's any sport. If you're an owner of a team, you should know what's going on. If you know nothing about it, you shouldn't just own a team to own a team. That's ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. I don't know. I know we got kind of off topic here, but all right, so besides the front office and the owner messing with the Clippers, and that's why they'll never win a championship, let's go to the Lakers. Their front office, going with Mike D'Antoni, going with Pau Gasol here, and Sam Mitchell, he doesn't even think they're going to make the playoffs. And, you know, especially with Kobe not playing at all. What do you got? You guys agree with that? You think Sam Mitchell is right on that?
Yeah, he's dead on because the Lakers are not going. They barely made the playoffs last year, and that was with Dwight Howard. They lose Dwight Howard. Kobe Bryant's not healthy, and they just don't have a team. They legit have two options to score: Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol. They got no other options. They got a collection of guys that are all role players or a cut underneath that. And I'm not trying to play anybody out here, but you know, let's be serious. This is the Lakers, who are one of the most distinguished franchises in all of the NBA. And if I went around and asked a casual NBA fan, name me 5 players on the Lakers, they'd tell me 2. You know, they tell me Kobe and Pau, and they wouldn't be able to tell me anybody else.
Right.
Who's gonna sit there and guess that Nick Young is on the team or Chris Kamen's on the team? People, I think, don't even remember that Steve Nash is on the team. Here's a guy who they don't even know how many games he's going to play. Right. He may get rest for 2 straight games, 3 straight games. He may not play back-to-backs. He may not even play in the season opener.
Right.
You don't even know. People probably don't even remember that Steve Nash is on the team.
Right.
Who's going to say that Nick Young and Steve Blake and Chris Kaman and Sean Williams is starting for the Lakers?
Right.
Sean Williams, who I don't even think was in the NBA last season, is starting for the Lakers because D'Antoni is so set in his ways that he will never change.
Right.
He played for the Knicks when D'Antoni was the coach. He jacked up a bunch of threes, and now D'Antoni is hoping that he'll jack up a bunch of threes and it'll translate to wins. It's going to be a disaster, and I would be surprised if D'Antoni lasts the season.
How about Chris Kaman, though, coming out and saying he doesn't know if this type of ball with this, you know, the style of play that Mike D'Antoni runs is going to really work with this team, and him saying he's not a fan of this type of offense. He used to say going small all the time, he didn't like it, and I saw a couple of nice plays with Kaman and Steve Nash off the pick and roll, but I can't see Chris Kaman running up and down the court in the D'Antoni system. I just can't picture this, you know?
It didn't work last year, so why is it going to work this year?
He's a half-court player. But Chris Kaman's a half-court player. You know, Dwight Howard's even though he can run up and down a little bit I mean, come on. Chris Kaman's not the most athletic guy we're talking about here. How the hell is he going to perform in this system? I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I don't know about the playoffs, but I think they are going to surprise some people. I mean, they have nothing to lose. I mean, all they got to do is go out and play ball, man, and just leave it all out there. So, I mean, I don't know about playoffs. I can't call it, but I do think they're going to surprise some people. I do think that. It is professional basketball, man, and they're going to have to figure it out. Some kind of way D'Antoni is going to have to figure it out, and he's going to have to change. It's just that simple.
Right, but that's the issue with D'Antoni. Look, with the right players and his system, it works. But he thinks that his system could just work on any team, and he could just get certain guys and work. And I think that's why Shawnee Williams is in the starting lineup, because other players don't fit the system that he the style that he wants to play. And he's not changing his system. You brought his system to LA. So I don't think I don't think his system is changing. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I still think they're going to surprise some people, though. I really do.
I think Pal's going to surprise some people.
Surprise them how?
I mean, I think they're going to slip up and beat some teams, man. That's going to take them lightly. I think, man, Kobe will eventually come back, and I think, man, he'll be kind of telling guys what to do on the bench, somewhat of a coach, somewhat of like kind of another eyes and assistant coach until he gets back. I mean, sometimes, man, just having that extra voice, man, can help. I mean, it's still professional basketball. I mean, I don't think they're going to just completely tank. But, I think they're going to surprise some people. I mean, Kaman is 7 foot tall. I mean, he can play. I mean, we understand about D'Antoni's system, but, I mean, these are professional players, and they're getting paid to go out there and compete. So, I mean, playoffs, I don't know, but I think they're going to surprise some people. We're talking about West Coast basketball. It's up and down. It's not that, grinded out, half-court basketball like the East Coast, but I think they're going to surprise some people. Playoffs, like I said, I don't know, but I think they're going to sneak up on some people and catch them.
I want to cut in on what Mark's saying, because I don't necessarily disagree with Mark here, and the reason being, last year they had Dwight Howard. We know it was a nightmare of a season, but Kobe recently came out and he said, the real issue last year was Dwight wanted to run the team a certain way, and for whatever reason, and Kobe wanted to run the team his way, and they butted heads a lot. And now that Dwight's not there, the team's going to run the way Kobe wants to run it. Now, granted, we got to wait till he gets back. Is he coming? How soon is he going to come back? See, my feeling is Kobe's going to come back sooner if the team is struggling. If the team is not struggling, I think he's obviously going to take his time to come back. But
I think he's going to take his time either way.
Really? See, I really,
because if they're struggling, why come back? You might as well just wait. You know what I'm saying? Let them play the season out and then get some good pieces in the draft and rebuild from there.
Well, maybe,
There's no reason to rush back.
Maybe, but at the same time, if he thinks that the Lakers have a shot and he likes this team, why not come back and help them if he feels, he can make a difference and help them? So
I mean, come on, it's Kobe Bryant. He's not going to come out and say his team is garbage.
Right, exactly. Well, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. I think my team is garbage.
This is a guy who doesn't like to lose, Mark.
No,
you know better than anybody.
You know what I mean? But I know Kobe's going to do what's best for him. He is. He's not going to rush back either way. Right. He's going to come back when he's ready to come back, man. Like I said, when he's not playing, he's going to be that extra eye and that extra voice to help these guys, play ball the way, because they're professionals. We're talking about professional players.
Right.
So, and then you take, like you said, they take the ego out of it. There's no ego.
Right.
They have nothing to lose, like nothing to lose.
Right.
Nothing.
This Lakers team is all about the 2015 season. Okay, the 2014-15 season, I'm going to tell you why. They have estimated about $10 million in guaranteed salary. $10 million. That's it. The only guy who's really going to make any money on that team for next season is Steve Nash. Everybody else is a free agent, including Kobe. Kobe free agent, Gasol, Blake, Jordan Hill, Chris Kaman, Jody Meeks. All of them are off the books.
Yeah.
So they re-sign Kobe. Then they have Kobe and a 91-year-old Steve Nash. And then they can pick and choose from anybody that they want.
Right.
Melo.
They can go for Melo if he becomes a free agent.
Is not.
If
listen,
LeBron
I knew what he was going to say.
Bosh opt out.
Mark,
they can go for them.
Melo is not going to LA.
A ton of players that they can go after, and it's all about weathering the storm this year and getting into next season.
Listen, Melo is not going to LA. All right, he just came out. He just came out today He just came out today and said he's going to be helping the Knicks recruit free agents in the summer. He's going to be doing that. So he's not going to L.A. So
he had to say that. He had to save face.
He's not
going. That's what I'm saying, AJ, man. What is he going to say, man? The whole world, the whole city of New York was beating his head in because he's saying he wanted to opt out.
Yeah, he's not.
Come on, man. You got to have some sound bites. He's not going to go through the whole season hearing that because all of us know that the Knicks are going to hit a rough patch.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the scapegoat for that. Like, come on. The Knicks are going to hit a rough patch.
Listen,
it's the Knicks.
I can't. I'm trying very hard just not to put those two words in the same sentence. Rough patch and Knicks. I'm really trying not to do that here, okay? Oh, God. If only we were still in the 90s when we had Patrick Ewing. Then everything would be okay. There wouldn't be any problems right now. Maybe, if we could go back in time, we would have changed the way that final shot ended up. He would have made a layup instead of missing a jump shot. But didn't happen, so.
If Kobe Bryant gets on the phone and talk to Melo, he's going to L.A.
You don't
think Kobe Bryant going to be recruiting? You kidding me?
They are
like, man, you see how much money we got on the books? I'm good. Yeah. I'm already talking and negotiating now. Yeah. I'm good. I need some help, bro. Come on out here in the sunshine. Your wife can be in some movies. Let's do it.
But you like
Let's
Melo
start this
going
thing
to LA.
over.
You think Kobe and Melo could play together and that's going to work?
Man, I don't know, man. I mean, so I don't think Melo and Stoudemire can play together, but they still on the team. They still on the team.
That's true. I just think Melo, you got to position Melo like you positioned Dirk, and I think the Knicks tried to do that last season. Unfortunately, age kind of played a factor in Jason Kidd, and Tyson Chandler was not as effective as he was in Dallas in that series. But I think that's how you got to build a team around Melo, the same way Dallas went about building around Dirk.
Well, it's kind of. I guess it's kind of the same, but at the same time, how they built it around Dirk, I think they went with a lot of veteran complementary pieces, and the offense was different.
Right.
I don't know how complementary pieces there are for Melo because it's all isolation.
Yeah.
For Mike, as long as Mike Woodson, and they just optioned him for next season also. As long as Mike Woodson, remember in Atlanta, he had a lot of ISO plays for Joe Johnson. It was like the Joe Johnson show in Atlanta. It's the same thing in New York. I don't know what pieces complement an ISO player.
Yeah.
You need to change that offense, I think. And like I said, I think that the Knicks can trade baskets with anybody in the league.
Yeah.
And I think that they're going to put up the most 3-pointers in the season.
Oh, for sure.
That offense has a lot of players standing around.
Yeah, you got a lot of guys standing around, so that takes people out of rhythm.
Right. Yeah, man. How you going to get rhythm if you just stand and watching?
Right.
So I'm telling you.
Raymond Felton hardly handles the ball in the half-court sets.
Right.
He's getting it to Melo right away. You almost never see pick and rolls with Tyson Chandler, and he's the center. He'd be great for pick and roll. You almost never see that. Amar Stoudemire is going to be a non-factor.
Right.
You're bringing Meta World Peace. He's not really a scorer. So you got all these guys, all these pieces around him. What I'm curious to see is the second unit, because I think that the second unit, if Melo is a part of it in some way, and I think he will be down the stretch and in the playoffs, when you pair him on the court at the same time with JR, with Shump, with Hardaway Jr. perhaps, now those are guys that can shoot the ball.
Right.
So I want to see, because in the starting unit, if you have...
So you say they're going to play him at the 4?
Yeah, well, he's going to start... at the 4 to begin the season.
Yeah, Melo played 4 last season. He
I saw that.
He was very productive at that position.
Well, now he's going to come off the bench. He's expected to come off the bench to at least begin the season.
I understand. If Woodson starts Melo at the 4, to me, I'm okay with that because we've seen success at that position with it. It's not like it didn't work. It never works. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, but we didn't see success because then you have Melo guarding David West.
Well,
and you have Melo guarding Chris Paul. And he can't guard those guys. It's not fair to ask him to guard those guys.
No, but on offense, I think he had a lot of mismatches in that regard. I think it
fine, but then there's a mismatch right back at you.
Right.
Yeah. Going
tit for tat in the league doesn't solve anything.
All right, well, look, to wrap up the Knicks here, honestly, we got to get Woodson on the show. The first thing I'm going to ask him is really what Mark just said. Why doesn't Tyson Chandler, Kyle, Mark, whichever one just said that, but why they don't run enough pick and rolls with Tyson Chandler. That should definitely happen more. Jeremy Lin was tearing it up with Tyson Chandler when he was running pick and rolls in the D'Antoni system. So I don't see why Woodson doesn't keep going to Tyson in those scenarios.
It's a different system, and it's isolation. It's Melo's going to get his touches, and then everything will fall into place after that. It's not. That's why I said it's not a team offense. It's not like Miami, because look, like right now, I just glanced at the Miami Heat game, and for those watching later on, the Heat game is on right now. And LeBron is bringing up the ball.
Right.
And he's not the point guard, but yet he's the one getting everybody involved because he's the best player on the team.
Facilitator. He's a facilitator. Yes.
Right. He's taking that into his own hands, and Melo is not going to do that. Melo's going to bring it up and he's going to shoot it, which is fine because that's his game.
Right.
Yep.
But that comes back to bite you when it doesn't work in the playoffs. You know, in the playoffs, that doesn't swing against defensive teams like Miami and Indiana.
Right.
Those teams play defense.
Right.
So
Or in the
your
second
best
half.
player is going to handle the ball and shoot and do it all. It's not going to work.
All right, so let's as we're getting ready here to wrap up the show, let's get some MVP predictions for this season. Mark, let's start with you. Who's winning MVP this season?
Come on, man. King James.
Who?
King James.
Oh, King James.
Number 6.
know what you said.
Number 6.
Oh man. All
Number
right.
6.
I mean that's it. So
Number 6.
all right, we get King James. Kyle, you're going with LeBron too?
For MVP?
Yeah.
See, I want to. And it's the easy pick. Like it's such an easy pick. But here's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
I think that Chris Paul is going to win.
Oh wait.
And I'm going to tell you why. It's because I think Chris Paul is going to average somewhere around 21 or 23 points and like 12 or 13 assists.
And the Clippers would not make it out the second round, and he would be sitting at home watching King James in the finals receive that trophy.
But that doesn't play. No, the MVP doesn't play. The playoffs doesn't matter about MVP. It's regular season MVP. And I think the people who vote are going to get tired of voting for LeBron.
That's true. Mark.
I'll give it to Carmelo Anthony before I give it to Chris Paul.
Mark,
I can't.
If you remember, Mark, Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs in Phoenix, and the Suns didn't win a championship or do anything really amazing in the playoffs. So, you gotta remember that too.
Yeah, and I don't want to count this guy out either. I think this could be a sneaky MVP candidate. James Harden. I think James Harden could be a sneaky MVP candidate because I think he could be in the top 5 in scoring. The Houston Rockets are going to be a very good team.
Hey,
he could probably average.
James Harden is going third in all the 4 different fantasy drafts. James Harden went third every time. He went the third pick every time.
That's a good call. I like that. I like that better than Chris Paul. Yeah, I'll go with you on that. I'll give you that. Chris Paul, no, never happened.
James Harden.
I like that.
I think James Harden could be a sneaky pick for the MVP. If we're looking for dark horses, that's my dark horse. I don't know how dark of a horse it is. If you're saying that he's
I like him or Steph Curry. I give you that. That's what I was going to say. Him or Steph Curry.
Yeah, Steph Curry could be in that
maybe Steph.
Again, it depends on the Warriors and how well they do and how healthy
that's really tough.
Yeah. Health is definitely going to be a factor. But if we get to my pick here, here's what I think is going to happen. I think LeBron is going to deserve it. I think the league is not going to give it to him. I think they're going to go for someone else this season. That's right. And I think, I was going with Kyle. I think Chris Paul could actually get it. I know, Mark, you're shaking your head.
That's right.
I was thinking Chris Paul.
NBA analyst, MVP. Right. He got to win a championship first, then the next season he'll get MVP. No way.
The Clippers, like Kyle said, it comes down to regular season. If Steve Nash can win back-to-back MVPs and not do anything in the playoffs, really, then I got to think Chris Paul has a good shot here. And as long as he's healthy, health is obviously a huge factor. But
that's what everybody is not going to happen, man. He can be healthy. He can do whatever he wants. He's not going to win MVP.
But if it was up to me, I would agree with Mark and say LeBron probably should win the MVP. Because he's only improved. I mean, if he's improved over the summer on any other aspect in his game, and the Heat are doing amazing, they win like 20 straight again, I don't think you can argue he should be the MVP. But
that's the league, I don't think the league's going to give it to him.
Pick. I don't think the league is going to give it to him. I really don't.
I gave you James Harden and Steph Curry. Steph Curry's not an easy pick. James Harden is definitely not an easy pick because you never see them on TV. But Chris Paul, man, come on, no.
I think he can add. He can put up numbers that we haven't seen, like assist numbers that we haven't seen since John Stockton.
It's not gonna happen. Too many problems, man. It's too much going on with the Clippers, man. They got too much to work on. They got too much development they got to do. Like he gonna be tired. No way, no.
All right, we're wrapping up the show here. Just quick little updates. Marcus Camby was waived by the Rockets. That's kind of an interesting move. You just trade for the guy. You signed the guy after he was traded to Toronto, bought out, comes back to Houston, and now they waive him. I don't know what's going on with that. But Camby, hopefully he'll be back in the season with the team later on. Hey, NBA season's here. I'm excited. Keep checking out Talkin Hoopz, talkinhoops.com for all the latest. The Mitchell Report. Follow that every week with 2 teams from Sam Mitchell's analysis. We'll have Tim Hardaway Jr. soon. Follow his career on our website, talkinhoops.com. But for the NBRPA Miami chapter, NBRPAMiami.com. For AJ, for Kyle, for Mark Strickland, we'll catch you guys on the rebound.
Until Talkin Hoopz comes back into play, stay connected by getting at us on iTunes. Keep up to date with all the latest basketball news and rumors and check out all our shows by logging on to talkinhoops.com.
Catch you on the rebound.